Okay, like I was telling you, here are all the parts. You got a couple of bags of hardware, speedo, ignition, kill switch, grips, chain cover, exhaust, sprocket, chain, fuel tank. Of course, the engine's sitting over there. Now, that's, maybe overwhelming for some people, but don't let it get to you. Just take it one step at a time. Now, this is something that a lot of people, guys, don't read. And I suggest that you do it and keep it, don't throw it away. It comes with some kind of a warranty also. So, keep that. I don't know how honorable they are in their warranties. But let's go over here and look at the frame that I'm going to be installing it on. No, it's not that one. That one already has a motor. I'll be doing a video on this one pretty shortly, but that's for in the future. This is what we're working on right now. Yeah, that's it. This has seen better days. Apparently, he loaned it to a friend, and it came back in this condition. Now, for $120, it is cheaper for me to put a brand new engine on this for him. Now, of course, just the engine itself is $120 with all the accessories. Installation is going to be more if you're doing it for a customer, which I am. Also, I'll be painting the frame, adding some decals to it, jazzing it up. He's a big Aggies fan, so it's going to be maroon and white. Now, I'm not going to show you much of me stripping this down and painting it because that's not what this video is about. If you want to learn how to paint, I suggest you watch a video by a professional painter on whatever it is you want to paint. So, well, I'm going to dive right into this and I'll explain as I go. Again, if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Let's get on with this. Okay, guys, before I get started tearing the black frame bike down, I want to run something by you. These motors, there is not one size fits all. In other words, you cannot put this in any frame, all right? The best frame to put it in is the larger loop frames, what they call adult bicycles. You try to stick this into this small of a window, like a BMX type design, which is sort of what this is, it's not going to fit. I mean, it's just, that's not going to work without major modifications on the frame, which there's no sense in doing that. You can pick up a used bicycle at the pawn shop for 50 to 75 bucks. So there's no sense in trying to get one of these in that small of a hole, unless you just want a lot of extra work. Now, let's start tearing the black back down. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and start with the most tedious part of this process, and that's getting the sprocket onto the rear wheel. The reason why I say it's the most tedious is because I've got semi-large hands, and those spokes are kind of a pain to work around. Now, you have 9 bolts, lock nuts, washers to get in there, so trust me, it's going to be tedious. A pair of needle nose pliers helps a lot for getting those small items in there and getting the nut started onto the bolt. I always have a rubber mallet with me just in case I need it for whatever reasons. Also a long screwdriver, skinny, again for manipulating pieces, parts down inside in between the sprockets. Pair of scissors for cutting the duct tape, and you'll see what I use the duct tape for here in a little bit. When I say duct tape, I do mean duct tape. Do not use Gorilla Tape. That stuff is great. It's a fantastic product. Only problem is, once it sticks to something, it does not want to come off, including my gloves that I'll probably be using, rubber gloves. It just rips them to shreds, and anyway, you don't need it. Just regular duct tape to be fine. Now, I use a box cutter to cut these spacers with, these thick heavy-duty rubber spacers. You do not have to use a box cutter. You can use some heavy-duty scissors. They'll work fine also. 2 small pieces of 2x4. And now, I don't know if I told you you need a 10mm ratchet or not. You don't have to use this. I prefer to use a cordless drill with a 10mm socket on it. And that's it. That's really all you'll need in the way of tools. So let's go ahead and get on this and get that part done and out of the way. Then we can move to the motor. Okay, this is where the duct tape comes in. And I'm sure a lot of you have probably done this before. Well, now we take the duct tape. Now, if this was Gorilla Tape, when it stuck to my gloves, it would have ripped the whole glove apart. Well, duct tape almost will. Okay, let's just, should be able just to fish this in very easily. Take this. Okay, I had to take the rear ramp off. It was in my way. That was simple enough. Okay, as you can see, it's the sprocket, a rubber spacer, the spokes, then the other rubber spacer. These spokes go in between both the rubber spacers. After it's tightened down, both of these rubber spacers grab a hold of the spokes. You will need needle nose pliers and 2 2x4s. This is the best way I've found to elevate it, hold everything on a nice plane while you do all of this. The needle nose come in really handy when you install these plates, especially if you have big fingers like me. Make sure the plates are not overlapping. Now, put put a flat washer on, then a lock washer, then one of the nuts, and just get it started. Okay, now go over to the other side and do exactly the same thing. Actually, it doesn't matter. You can do them all in the same direction. Just when you go to tighten them up, you want to index 180 degrees. Okay, I got the sprocket on there all right. What you need to do after you do that is either mount it back up in the frame and elevate it like I have it here, or put the axle between 2 centers. This was the easiest for me to do. And just rotate the wheel. Now, you want to look to see if the sprocket is going up and down, which this isn't. Also, you want to look from the back. You're going to make sure the sprocket isn't wobbling back and forth, and it's straight. Unfortunately, this rim is bent. I just found this out. So I'm going to contact the customer, see if he wants a new rim and tire, obviously, which I already told him about the tire when he first brought it in. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and mount the engine and get it running, and it is rideable, but it's nothing that I personally would ride, not with a bent rim. It's unsafe. So anyway, again, with the sprocket, make sure that there's no cast in, cast out, back and forth movement. It's going it's going very straight. Now, when I mounted this, you'll see other videos that they use zip ties to make sure that it's even and centered, which is great. This one, I didn't have a problem with. It went right on. I eyeballed it. I did not have to use zip ties on it to get it centered on the hub at all. Again, you want to look at it from both directions, the back and the side, and that's good. Okay, now let's start on installing the engine and the controls. Okay, what we're going to do now is mount or assemble the accelerator cable. Well, that's not the accelerator cable. You have 2 cables. You have the accelerator cable and the speedo cable, 2 different things, obviously. Okay, this is the accelerator cable. It has a little lead, I think it's lead, small cylinder on the bottom of it. And the reason why is so it can grab a hold of this. That's right down inside that little recess right there. Now I'm running 2 cameras so you can get a close-up. These parts are very, very small. Now, one thing I did notice about this carburetor, and it really kind of makes it unique, is they kind of got this from Mikuni. Now, Mikuni did not make this carburetor by no means, but this is the fuel needle right here. Now, there are 5 small grooves on this needle. And what that is for is this little clip ring can be moved up and down. And that's, I believe, for the high-end performance of the carburetor. Either that or mid-range, one of the two. I just don't remember. It's been so long since I adjusted a Mikuni, or had to adjust a Mikuni. They're really good carbs, and they come right out of the box. Pretty much you bolt them on, and they're good to go, believe it or not. You might have to adjust the idle just a little bit, but other than that, great carbs. So if this is a borrowed Mikuni design, then great, good. That's a good thing. Now, let's get with this. This is very easy. I already have the carburetor disassembled as far as putting the cable in. Just slip this on here like that, and go ahead and put your spring in and set that down. Now, what we're going to do is take this cylinder. This is the top of it. What you want to do is take your needle and just drop it down in there like that. And then your retaining disc, and drop it in there like that. Now, you're probably going to need, well, you will need a small screwdriver or something to align this like that. Now what you do, you take this unit, assembled unit of your accelerator cable, and you feed it in just like this. Okay, put a little resistance on it so it all stays together. Now there's a small pin inside of the carburetor that lines up with that groove. So that's how you want to stick it in there. Okay, once it goes, it just goes all the way in. Go ahead and collapse this down without losing any of it. Okay, and just screw this right down on top of it. There's going to be some tension on it, so you're going to have to hold it together while it's being threaded on, at least until you get a couple of threads caught. Okay, good. And just go ahead and screw it down. All right, now we got that part taken care of. Okay, this engine comes with the brackets already on it, nuts, washers, so on, so forth. Go ahead and take those off. They're not tight. You can take them off by hand. You will need a 14 millimeter open-end box-end wrench and also a ratchet. Now, this engine just sitting in here like this is a little closer to my pedal sprocket than what makes me feel comfortable. So I'm going to look through the hardware to see if we have any brackets to help raise this up a little bit. Because we have such a large frame, we're going to have to use this adapter that's supplied. Now, some kits come with an adapter like this. This is off of the 50cc that I took out. It would be nice if this was in here, but it's not. So what we're going to do is follow the directions, and I already have a hole drilled through this frame. And right now I'm just putting this plate on. I'm doing it with a box in instead of a ratchet. Okay. And they give us this U-bolt that goes in here. It allows the front of the motor to set up a little bit. Much better. Now, it appears the U-bolt is going through and bottoming out on the motor itself, so I'm going to have to shorten this a little bit. Okay, now we just go ahead and mount the motor up. I've got plenty of clearance here. This bracket worked so-so. Okay, I mean, if I designed it, it would be better, but I didn't, so we're working with what we got. Now, I had not had to modify anything other than that U-bolt right there for this whole endeavor so far. So it's going pretty good and going rather quickly. Like I said in the beginning, there is not much to this. At least it doesn't appear to be. The directions do say drill a hole through the frame and into the mount if you have to use this adapter. Now, they do not supply a bolt, so I'm just going with a 1/4 20. The hole is already in the frame. It was a 1/4 inch, so that's what I'm following up with. And that should be sufficient into supporting it to keep the engine from vibrating left or right. Make sure that when you drill this hole that your engine is in the center of the frame. It shows you having to cut the chain. This one is different. This instruction book didn't say anything about that. Maybe we won't have to. If we do, no big deal. I've already got the chain bits assembled. There is a disassembly link in this chain. It's in all the kits. And you just pop this Allen head through this plate right off. This is also the engagement clutch, but your drive socket is up underneath there. Yeah, you can think about it, this actually is a pretty cool idea. It's very simplistic in its design. I like it. I like things like this. It's just kind of cool, really. Okay, go ahead and feed our chain in. Now you're going to want to do this with the spark plug out because it makes it easier to rotate. If you do it with the spark plug in, you're going to have a problem fighting compression. Now this little engine does not have much compression. It's only, I think, 6:1. But still, even at that, that's a lot when you're having to do it by hand. Now I've got to rotate that nut right there. In this kit, they give you a small wrench that just fits that nut so you can do this. They do not say anything in the instructions about doing it. When I say they don't show anything about doing this, they don't show this little tool that's in there. So I think the instructions are just kind of generic and distributed throughout the group of people who make these engines, or this kit. Now the chain will feed itself on around. Okay, let's give us some more working space here. Okay, our chain tensioner is intact and mounted. And like I said, if this doesn't work, then I'll shorten the chain, but I don't really see why it won't. But like I said, we'll see. These 3 screws right here, they're different lengths. There's 2 short ones, 1 long one. The long one goes up here in the very rear top. And now we're going to install the exhaust and the carburetor. This should go pretty quick after this. Of course, I'm just assuming that little ugly beast could raise its head anytime. Well, you have a gasket here. Be sure and use that. Now I'm going to connect the clutch cable from the clutch lever down to the clutch assembly on the side of the motor. And they actually do have a good diagram on this. I don't know if the camera's picking up very well, but there's 2 springs that are involved, and it's nothing too outrageous. One spring, the big spring, goes on first, and I believe all that does is it's to protect the clutch cable from wearing on the side of the engine. Now, you can't see it. There is a small little, well, there you can, if I just stick the camera down in there. There it is. That piece. Right there. Okay, the clutch cable goes in from this side and exits out here. And I'm going to thread it in there right now. If I can do this one-handed while holding the camera. It's kind of at an odd angle. There we go. And that just butts up in there. Then your big spring comes around and goes right down over it. That's it. Okay, now we're going to move over to the other side. Okay, now there's the other side of our motor. This small spring goes onto the cable, like so. And then threads through a hole in the side of this lever. And there's a set screw in it. Okay. Now, you're going to want to use a pair of needle nose and keep tension on it while you tighten it down. And this is just a Phillips head screw. I have Phillips head and also regular head. And I won't be able to get much on it with the Phillips head, but enough to hold it for a moment. All right, that should be tight enough. Well, if we have to adjust it, we'll come back and do that. I don't know if we will. Boy, that's loose. That's built like that. I don't guess you'd want it too tight. Now let's go ahead and go to the electronic. Okay, now comes the time to hook up our wires. They gave us literally a hand-drawn schematic, but it's not that difficult. I've always wondered what this white wire went to, and it goes to a headlight if you're running a headlight. Let's see. That's simple enough. Black goes to black. All right. And from the throttle, well, imagine that. Black goes to black. Now the blue wire. Yeah, that's the wire you always want to cut in the movies. The blue wire. Okay. I've got a green wire. Okay, apparently on this one, it's not red, it's green, and blue to blue. Now for the time being, oh, set that up there out of the way, let it hang down, whatever. Let it hang down. Now comes the fuel tank. Okay, well, it's all together. Now, I did leave the bracket off for the muffler just because it's ugly. The last bike that he had, he never had a bracket on it. Seemed to work okay, so we'll see how it goes with this one. And besides, he did ask me, please do not put that hideous thing on there. So we'll see how that goes. But I have not fired it up. I have not put fuel in it yet. It's dark outside, and I will wait till tomorrow to do that, and we'll do some test riding, hopefully. Okay, we're about ready to go. Another thing they don't talk about in the instructions is the clutch area. Where these drive gears are, they have no lubrication on them. So it would be a good idea to just take some heavy-duty grease. Wheel bearing grease would be sufficient, gear grease, not lube. And I got some red here. And just go in and put it inside the teeth of the gears because there is no lubrication. These things are shipped with nothing. And there's some other things in the instructions that just aren't there. They're just not very good instructions. Now, this seems to be okay as far as the engineering goes, but it lacks. But it's from China and it's cheap. But there's a lot of them out there, so apparently they do work relatively pretty well. Now, if you notice, I don't have a chain guard on here, and I'm not going to show you how to put a chain guard on because this guy is not going to run one. Also, this rear wheel is bent, which I mentioned earlier in the video. The other one has not came in yet. If I would have known that that rear wheel was bent, I would have had one for the video. Now, I'm still going to try to get this going with that bent rear wheel just to show you guys that, hey, yes, it does work and it does go down the road. But as soon as the other one comes in, I'll put the wheel on and the customer will be good to go. Not too shabby. I like the A&M logos on it. I think that really kind of sets it off. And we got a nice little speedo up here. I'm sure it's extremely accurate. Big bore 80cc, yeah. Actually, surprisingly, I got up to 43 miles an hour on this. And I weigh 260 pounds. So I've got a lot of respect for that little motor. It did crank up and go down the road, no problems. Didn't give me any issues, actually. So I think we're good to go. Sound like Bill Clinton when I say that. Good to go. Yeah. All right. Hey guys, say, if you really like this video, click the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. If you look over to your right, you'll see a couple of more of my videos. I encourage you to watch them. See you in a few days. Bye.